mate. So we are moving. It is approaching 4 p.m. in the UK. I've pretty much been here for 11 hours straight. I've got two very good friends and colleagues of mine who are going to be joining us in literally a minute's time. This is something that we've put together over the last 6 months, and this is something that we really wanted to share with you sooner, but it's taken a little bit of refinement. This is going to be something that you're going to love. It's an opportunity potentially of a lifetime for most folks, and it's something that is one of those things that you don't let slip by. But we don't just want to come in and make you an offer. We want to come and share some value. We want to give you some insight. We want to give you some value when it comes to the important elements of business. Yes, there's the selling. Yes, there's the technology. There's the mindset. And there's also the positioning of how you position yourself, the rooms that you get into, the people that you meet, the people that you speak to, how you open those conversations. So there are various elements when it comes to being successful, whether you're online, whether you're offline, whether you're a brick and mortar business, whether you're a car salesperson, or whether you're running your own store. Whatever you're doing in your business, whether it's funnels, whether it's consultancy, whether it's e-commerce, you need a certain set of skills. And we've been discussing this over a period of time, and I've teamed up with some of my buddies, some colleagues, and we've put something together that we think is really, really special. I want to bring this to you now. We've got an extra bonus to this as well, because I've got two people rather than one. I want to bring to the stage somebody who you know and somebody you might not. Either way, we're going to spend 45, 50 minutes giving you some value, giving you some insight, and we've got something really special for you that we've been working on for a long time. So let us know in the comments if you're excited. I want to bring on none other than Rex Sikes and Mr. Rick Sedler. You guys, how are we doing this Black Friday?
I'm doing great, Danny. How are you?
Doing good, Rick. Doing good. Rex Sikes in the place as well.
Awesome. I'm with the host with the most. I mean, Danny Walsh, you just rock the airwaves all around the world. I'm so happy to be with you and with good friend Rick Sedler, two one-of-a-kind individuals right now next to me. I'm traveling, so I hope I come in clearly, and you're both looking fabulous.
Well, I've been here for 12 hours straight since 5 o'clock this morning. So if I suddenly disappear off the screen, you guys will have to take it away. There is actually a fourth person in this collaboration between us, and Rex, I think it's fair if you introduce our fourth partner in this, who's not available to make it today, right? So Rex.
Well, I will, and then I'd like Rick to be able to do that for himself, or you to do that for Rick, in other words, so that everybody understands.
100%.
And at the same time, Danny, it demonstrates your commitment to quality and to helping, assisting people, for doing it as many hours live as you are. It's in some ways beyond belief that
I'm believing it now, but it just me.
Someone would give up his time like that to serve people, but that's who you are, and I appreciate that. Our fourth is Ben Gay the Third. Now, if you don't know who Ben Gay is, you need to. Ben Gay is the last living protege of Dr. Napoleon Hill. He studied with Dr. Napoleon Hill while Hill was obviously still alive, and had the benefit of having him mentor him one-on-one during the last few years of Hill's life. And Ben, if you don't know who he is, created he's almost the great-great-grandfather of the human potential movement. He and his company, which was Holiday Magic, was originally a makeup kind of a I guess you call it maybe a multi-level marketing company at that time, became Wealth Dynamics and became a huge mindset, professional and personal transformation program. And so many people worked for Ben. Zig Ziglar, people like Bob Proctor, Earl Nightingale, Clement Stone. I mean, all these people kind of went through Ben in order to reach other people, and of course, Dr. Hill. And I've known Ben a number of years. We were putting together a program on sales called, well, I won't go into the name of that, but I mean, in other words, we had this program that we were offering to everyone, Ben and I, and we thought, well, wait a second, there's two other really huge, cool people in the world that need to be a part of that, and that's Danny Walsh and Rick Sedler. So I've teased a little bit about what's there, but Ben Gay is just a beautiful guy. He's a wonderful human being, and sadly he couldn't be with us today, but he's with us.
I'm just in the process of removing our friendly neighborhood psychic from the chat, who's just about to get blocked. Please don't be sending messages to Sandra Daddy, who's in there trying to poach our viewers right now. That's not an ethical way to sell. So apologies, anybody in the chat who's getting messages from this person. We don't know them. We don't endorse them. But as we move, Rick Sedler, you're not so bad yourself, right? And we know Rex a little bit. We know Rex. We'll talk about Rex. But Rick,
yes.
People, I didn't know who you were. We had an interview together. We talked together for a while, and I'm like, man, you've done a lot. And you bring so much. And this is a great partnership. You've got Rex, you've got Ben, and you've got your good self. Talk to us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So it's been about 35 years now that I've been involved in luxury marketing, luxury sales, talking to millionaires, billionaires, high net worth people. And I know that you can't tell by looking at me, but yes, 35 years I've been doing it. I had somebody the other day refer to me on social as "Listen, Grandpa." I thought to myself, you never really believe you're as old as you are. You're always thinking that you're younger, right? But yes, it's been 35 years plus that I've been involved in luxury marketing. So to be in that space, you learn about luxury products and services. You learn about how to sell and communicate with them. But the interesting thing is it's high ticket sales today, and it really can be applied to a lot of other things. And so the way I look at it is if you can sell a $400,000 Rolls Royce, you have to understand the type of buyer, the way to approach the buyer with authority, and you have to be able to communicate in such a way that you go through the entire process with them. It's got to be appealing. It's got to be interesting. You've got to connect, and you've got to close the sale. With that ability, you can also go down. You can go down in terms of the luxury pricing and the product. You can use the experience for other products, but you typically can't go the other way. If you sold the least expensive car, you couldn't move into a dealership, for example, and start selling Rolls Royces. But having that experience of dealing with the different archetypes, right? The different types of psychographics, the way in which people buy, how they get interested, right? You connect with them in a way that it makes people want to buy from you. They want to be your friend after. Could be, not always, but they could be. Usually when you connect for something that special, you have a relationship. So it's really about relationship selling, but you can't form a relationship unless you really know how to deal with the kinds of people that you're dealing with at that level. So that's sort of what I've done. That's the value that I want to bring and share. All of this built up experience, I've gotten to a point where I'd love to share it with other people.
And Danny, if I can say something on Rick's behalf, it is this, and to the viewers. There are people who have researched wealth and wealthy people, and they write books about it or articles about it, or they put it out on a blog or a post or a tweet or something. But Rick lived it in the trenches for those 35 years, selling billionaires and millionaires, and then not only selling them, but influencing them, and then ending up traveling with them, working with them, becoming friends with them. And so I don't think there's anyone better than he to help people understand how do you find and how do you connect with people of high net worth and who have great value and are looking for products to be sold, but they don't. But if you're the person to sell them, you need to know how to approach them. And Rick is the guy to show you how to do that, bar none. So you can read all the books you want, but you won't get the same kind of value or experience you get from listening and sitting at the feet of Rick Sedler, to understand the mindset, the desires, the interests, and what moves and motivates these people. And so I couldn't tell you, Ben, Ben and I were doing this, and when I've known Rick a while, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, who better than Rick to bring into this? And thankfully, Rick said yes.
So,
Well, I'm excited about the fact that each of us, all four of us, it is a complete circle that
Yeah.
you must you must understand each of those four elements in order to be successful. So you have to understand the person that you're going to sell to. You have to have that relationship storytelling ability. You have to have the right mindset, and you need the tools to be able to go out, find those people through today's approach, which is largely digital, right? And you need, of course, to be a good salesperson. And usually somebody is pretty good at one of those things, but we're going to help you with all four of those things to complete it. And what I really believe in, and when I was struggling with sales, is that I looked around the room with me, and when I joined, there were a lot of people that were really talented and were trained by some of the best. And one day I decided that as I struggled, how can I get better? Well, look at the people around me, listen to the people, learn from the people around me. And then I thought, what if I took every single, and I looked at it as sort of like a superhero concept. What if I possessed all of the strength and the magic of all of the superheroes? And to me, the salespeople around me were superheroes. What if I possessed all of them? How could I not be better than each of those individual strengths if I possessed all of them? And when I started on that concept, I realized that I began to sell and sell more and eventually manage the group of salespeople. So the power of each of the strengths put together would be so impactful for somebody, right? You could, it almost impossible to fathom that you could not improve. Now, you can't sell everybody. You can't do everything 100%. There's no such thing. Anyone that tells you that, forget it, run, right? So as any good sales trainer will tell you, you're not going to be able to close every sale. This isn't magic. You're going to increase by percentage over what you now know. And the cost of whatever that takes, that investment, will pay off many times over. And just like one of my clients said when he advertised in a magazine and he got an eligible bachelor, the most eligible bachelor in Philadelphia. He came to his jewelry store. I said, great, you got a customer. He said, no, Rick, you don't understand. This is not a sale that I made. This is a 24-year-old stud who has birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, engagements, family members. This guy's worth $1 million. So he didn't look at what he bought that day. He looked at taking that relationship and looking at the lifetime value. So anytime I've ever learned anything, and I can go back 30 years and say, what was that worth? Not what was that worth from that seminar, but what is it worth 35 years later that was so important and so impactful? And how much did that make you? So putting all of these things together, what will you become on the other side? You can't even put a number on it. That's why I'm so excited to be involved.
So good. And with the combination, as you said, we've got the tech piece, we've got the mindset piece, we've got the sales piece, we've got the relationship piece. Are there any other pieces? I don't think there are. This is like when we're kind of putting this thing together, we're like,
yeah. I don't know if there is.
Yeah, no, the thing I think is really important that most people don't understand, and the thing that we do address, is if you don't know what your blind spots are, you can't go where you need to go because you're not aware of something that could be holding you back or something that you need to know in order to move forward. So the three most dangerous words in the English language are, I know that, or I already know that, or I'm doing that. Because what happens for people is they read books, they get information, they know it intellectually, but they don't have the practice or the experience. And there's nothing in the world that is a substitute for experience. The rise and fall, the failure, the ups and downs of that process is what hones your skill set to become magnificent. But short of that, it becomes intellectual knowledge. And as the saying goes, if you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you always got. And if you expect a different result, which is what so many people do, that's the definition of insanity. And so what we do is not only show you what you can do, but address what you don't know that you think you know that you need to understand that you do not yet know. Now, there are some people too who have a pretty good background and a pretty good expertise in some of the things, but they've reached that glass ceiling and they don't know how to get through it or pass it or around it or break through it or whatever. So it's not just getting people unstuck that's important, but it's taking those people who are pretty darn good at what they do and making them superior at what they do, so that bar none, they are head and shoulders above the rest of the people out there who make up the noise of the internet and everything else that seems to prevent people from moving ahead. So I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be with Rick and Ben and you and myself.
It's not so bad. It's not so bad, right?
No, it's not.
No. Oh, you know what, Rex? I was talking with a sales trainer, a friend of mine that I met, and I really respect him. And part of the reason I think I connect with people, I think anybody, is that they know some things that you don't know, right? And there's an old saying, if two people are saying the same thing, one of them is not needed, right? So you want to learn constantly. This is really all about just knowing that you're not the best and that there's always more for you to learn. And I was telling him about somebody that I needed some help with, just to sort of understand, to get somebody's opinion. And he said, so how long have they been in sales? And I said, 30 years. And, what are they lacking? What are they doing? I told him a couple of things. He said, Rick, I call those people the 30-year salespeople, the person with 1 year experience repeating it for 29 years. And so people have to realize that especially in sales, in what I do, and I think it really goes for anything. You always have to. The world is changing so much. You always have to learn what is successful today. You cannot take your experience and say, I'm experienced for X number of years, therefore I know. There's always more to learn. And it's just incredible especially when you're dealing with, let's say you're dealing with selling cars. We got on the car thing, but it could be watches, it could be anything else, especially with high ticket items. If I learn one little nugget that helps me and I pick up a sale of $20, $40, $50, $200,000, how valuable is that? One little tip that helps you gain another sale. That's what I love about high ticket sales. That's what I love about, selling, it's not 1,000 things for $50, right? It's maybe a dozen things. I met somebody that sold railroad cars. I said, what's your cycle for that? How many do you sell a year? He said, well, I'm lucky if I do sell one a year, right? So you imagine how much, influence and learning and sharing and getting together with somebody that sold something similar, what that might do to help close a sale worth millions of dollars, right? So that's the benefit, is always learn, right?
Well, you raised such an incredibly valuable point, Rick, because if people understood this, we'd be far different. One is, you can't use what you used yesterday to succeed tomorrow, because tomorrow is a different day. So you have to be open and available to the incoming data and the change of situation. You might be able to use some of it, but most of what you've gotten from the other day will be inappropriate or wrong for today. So you have to be flexible. You have to be resilient. You have to know how to move and to do those things. But if people would understand this, that all of their problems and all of their troubles and all of their woes and challenges and obstacles and limitations and everything else are learned. We came into this planet pretty much, a little bit of genetic baggage perhaps, but pretty much an open slate. And we've been conditioned, and from society, from the caregivers, from our educators, from our peers, from growing up and experiencing and then repeating that in our, to the point that these things get wired in and they become habits. And what are habits but automatic and reliable? You don't have to think about them in order to have them happen. So people live from a program, and oftentimes negative self-talk or critical self, and from the habits of what they've learned. And that's why I know that's such an easy thing to say for most people, because that's to the extent that they know. But if they understood that all of their problems are learned, they need to understand that they can learn the solutions to their problems. But oftentimes what they think the solution to their problem is the problem they need to resolve, because they think it can only happen in a certain way, and that's based on their previous conditioning. So being open, in order to move forward, you have to do two things. You have to want to change and be willing to change. Because if you're not willing to change, you're not going to. And most people say they want to change and then don't do it. It's like corporations who go, come in and help change the structure, but don't really do anything. You know, don't mess up. Don't tip over the cart. You have to be willing to change, and you have to be willing to learn, and you got to be teachable and coachable. Because if you're not, a teacher can only present. You know, you can only share this. It's kind of like a horse can be led to water, but you can't make it drink. So you have to be willing to drink from the fountain of those people who are around you, who can show you what you're doing wrong and what you need to correct, and what you're doing right and what you can enhance and improve on, and put those together to create an entire new package for today and tomorrow and moving forward. So it is all about learning, and people don't think about that because they think, well, I learn, I read books, I do this, I do that, you know, I know this stuff, I got that. But if you remember what it was like as a child, you learned from everything. And you learned through play, and you learned from fun, and you were curious, and curiosity drove you, you know. So until you, and that's why I think the Bible, the saying is, unless you become like a little children, you don't enter the kingdom of heaven. In other words, if you don't return to that state of openness, then you miss so much. You miss the opportunities, the possibilities, and the resources that are within you and all around you every single moment of the day. And we want to help fix that.
I think just listening to the conversation, and I know that we've got people in the comments right now, you know, I want to just play a quick video from the interview that we did with Ben. It's only a minute long, just to kind of give a bit of context of the wisdom, right? And then I just want to give an opportunity for people in the chat to ask questions. Obviously, we can't ask questions of Ben. Obviously, he's not here, but you will see him in due course. But if you watch this video from Ben, and as you're watching it, just think of a question that you might want to ask to Rex or to Rick or to myself. Because, you know, I've mentioned it earlier, you know, we're doing Black Friday, we're doing deals, and we're giving away stuff, and we're trying to help people. We've had some amazing speakers on today. There's more to come. You guys, clearly, we don't do this for our clients cheap. This is not cheap stuff, right? We're unlocking years of time saved, time gain in being able to just share one thing. We used to, you know, take children fishing, right? So we take them fishing, and you get a big line of kids, and they're all catching fish, and there's some kid at the end, and he wouldn't be catching, and then after 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 50 minutes, they're not catching, and you go down and you say, "Are you all right?" And they say, "Yeah, you know, my dad showed me, or I know how to do it, and I'm all right on my own." And after lunch, they've still not caught anything. And I know I can make one change to that kid's fishing setup, and they start catching, but they're resistant to it, right? And they'd say things like, "I only tie proper knots when I go with my dad." Are you like, cool? And that's kind of like what you guys are saying right now, is like people get this knowledge from somewhere, and they believe that's it, and they stick to it. Yeah. And then after a while, they'd be like ready to throw the things in the water. And you'd be like, "Look, just let me help you." And they'd finally give in. But by then, it was like 4:45 in the evening. The bus is pulling up. They're ready to go. You'd make the one change, and they'd start catching. All of a sudden, it starts to happen for them because they've allowed that assistance in, right? And you've got an opportunity right now in the chat to ask like what I consider world-class trainers, experts. We'll show Ben in a second. But if you've got a question, ask it in the comments, and let's see if we can answer that. And let's try and give you an opportunity for folks to don't let it get to 4:45 in your life, in your business, in your career, in sales, or whatever it is that you're doing in business right now before you allow that assistance in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, Rick, please. Yeah.
Well,
we're so conscious of this thing, right? Because it exhibits itself so often where people have left it to, you know, it's 10:05. Oh, crap, the bus is going to leave. You've missed all the morning, the afternoon. Time passes, and we can make one change. Just that one thing, just in conversation and a question.
Danny, I was going to say, I live on the Merrimack River. It's one of the third most dangerous rivers as it empties into the ocean. You could go out on a sunny day and have nothing. Once the river meets the ocean, you could have 10, 15-foot waves and sink you. There's 1 or 2 deaths a year. And the good news about the river is sea bass are plentiful, right? And there are fishermen lined up so that you have to navigate around them just to get out to the ocean. And people catch them all the time. I've lived on the river in various houses for 30 years. I've never caught a bass that's a keeper. A keeper is 28 inches to 32 inches. I've never caught one because I just say, grab one of those lures and let's put it on the end of the line and I'll throw it out there. Well, everyone else is doing it and I'll just wait here and catch one, right? 30 years I've never caught a bass because I didn't take the time to figure out all of these other people. They know where to go. They know what tide, all of these little nuances. They're in a boat. They're throwing stuff out in the water. So am I, but they're catching them and I'm never catching them. And I've never taken the time to learn. It's not important to me, but apply that to somebody who's in a particular job or has a particular business. What is the difference between me throwing it out seemingly just like everybody else and never catching anything and the person that's pulling in? I've talked to people that said they've caught 12 bass in one sitting. They know where to go. And people are very secretive about where to go to catch them. I'm not giving out any secrets. They blur the background of where they caught one so that nobody comes there. They know where to go.
Without a
so
doubt.
You're getting somebody that's done it over and over and over again. There are boats that go out and say, we guarantee you're going to catch fish or we'll give you your money back. I guarantee I'll never catch a fish. I don't know where they are. What's the difference? It's very, 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 very minute. It's the technical ability is huge, but when you listen to it, you think, really, that's it? That's the difference? So I was just thinking about that when you mentioned fishing and the skills that are necessary. Just that little extra. And I've had meetings with my salespeople to just, try to get them to get to that number, to try to help them improve. And I use the analogy of an old train that moves by steam. And so the person's feeding the coal into the steam engine to heat it up. And I ask them, what happens when it's really, really hot at 200 degrees? I don't know. Nothing. Because you're feeding the coal to make it hot so that you can create steam. 211 degrees, you get nothing. Doesn't move. 200 tons of a piece of equipment of steel, it doesn't move. 1 degree more. At 212 degrees, the water turns into steam and that locomotive moves. You can be 211 and get nothing. 1 degree more, and you're moving the train down the track at 60 miles an hour. And I use that analogy to tell my salespeople how much of a huge improvement just a little bit of tactics and skill and knowledge can do for you. What is that worth? Right, Rex?
I was going to say, and Karen made a point in the chat that said, but we must be careful who we take advice from. So who you listen to is absolutely crucial, and we would be the first to suggest that. Because, there are a lot. I want you to play Ben, but I want to also say there are a lot of people out there. Being the best known doesn't mean you're the best. There are lots of actors who are really talented, who are not the best known, who are superior to the people who are household names. So, what you want to do is you want to find the right mentor, the right coach, the right guide who can help you. Now, to the point, and then I'm gonna be quiet so that we can listen to Ben, because that's important. Is it's not just how much money you can make; it's how much money you're leaving on the table.
Absolutely.
How much is left behind because you don't know what you're doing? And to that point, if you want things to be different, you must be different. You can't keep doing the same things over again and have them change. You've got to change what you're doing in order to make that happen. But there's so many people out there who they try this and they try that and they listen to this and they do that and they run here and they run there and they have no clue what to do, but they go, I need to know how, I need to know how. And that's not where you start. It's like fixing the wagon without knowing how to fix it. It doesn't do much. You can be very, very busy, but not productive. So what we want to do is save you time, energy, effort, money, everything by showing you what works, how it works, and from reliable sources who can take you from 0 to 212 degrees like that, because it is that 1 degree of change that makes the difference.
And you don't want it to get to quarter to 5, 10 to 5. The bus is coming. It's time to leave. I work with a chap, and he advises businesses when they're thinking about closing, right? And a lot of businesses, they get to a point, and maybe it's a mom and pop business. They're getting older. They want to give it to the kids, but the kids are doing some digital stuff. They're not interested. They've gone off, moved town or whatever, and there's no one to take the business. And he helps businesses to close down, right? And it's at that point where the discussions start to happen. I wish we would have done this sooner, because to close the business, you have to improve the business. And he's like, it's harder to close the business than it is to open one. And there's things these folks could have done 20 years ago that would have made this business saleable. Tiny little things that they just didn't know about. And he gets upset. He gets emotional about it. He's like, we're getting to 5 p.m. They've nowhere to turn. No one wants to buy it. No one wants to take it. And you got to think like that. So what can you do now while there's time on the clock to give yourself not only the skills to do what you want to do, but also to position your business in a way that you can actually leave it? And that, when he explains that, you're like, oh, that's a big thing, right? So I want people to hold that thought. Think of a question as we watch Ben. I'm going to play Ben. He's literally on for a minute. This is from an interview that Rex and I did. So the screen's going to swap. So Rick's probably going to turn into Ben in like a second, but we'll be back. And hopefully you've got a question. We'd want to pick a worthy question, because, just being in this presence and the skills, the collective experience just in this call, if you've got a question, let's make it a good one, because it can make all the difference to your business. This is Ben Gay III, everybody.
Nothing happens till somebody sells something. And you can look around the office you're in right now and look at that microphone, for instance, your mouth. Somebody sold that to you. And somebody sold it to the person who sold it to you. There was a distributor before the retailer you bought it from. And then you go through it piece by piece. That's probably foam. Somebody sold the microphone guy the foam. Somebody sold the elements of the foam to the guy who made the foam. My point, without totally belaboring it, is I'm looking at your microphone and the stand it's on, and I'm guessing there were 75 salespeople involved, one step at a time, to get that microphone in front of your face.
Love it. Danny, you promised I'm going to turn into I'm going to turn into Ben.
Yeah,
you promised that.
He's gone. He's gone.
I hope I can turn into Ben.
I consider myself so blessed to be with Danny and Rick and Ben, in this project, and to be friends, outside of this project. One of the things that I would add, and then let's address the questions or Ben, is a lot of people sit there and say, I need to know how to close. Ben's done a whole series of books, 5 books called The Closers. That's what he's done. And I know Rick, my point is this: you do not need to know how to close. You don't need to memorize 50 different closes if you understand the process of what makes a person want to buy, which is what Rick does all the time. First off, you have to know how to get to them and how to connect with them and be able to maintain a relationship with them to even begin to think about closing them. So it's not the close that's the most important thing. There's so many other things that go before the close, but it is, as Rick said earlier, it's the relationship that you develop. And if the relationship is right and you can meet their needs and they know, like, and trust you with that sort of thing, then the closing, you don't have to memorize a bunch of closes. if that makes sense to you. And so many people out there are going, teach me how to close, teach me how to do this. If I only have the right 3 words to say, then I'll be able to do magic. But the magic happens before you ever get to those words. And if you don't know that, no matter what you say or what you do, you're not going to be able to close. And that's why people leave money on the table, or they walk away disappointed, or the person that they went to doesn't give them the second chance to make a first impression. So,
Rex, what's really important with the countless number of salespeople that I have, as soon as I moved from selling to managing, I realized that what was that Yogi Berra saying? Half the game is 90% mental. So the difference between selling a tangible and an intangible, when you're selling an intangible, when you're selling a service, if you are expert at all the tactics of selling and receiving enough leads and you have plenty to work on, if you are not successful, it's a mindset thing. And people need to get out of that trouble. So it's so important in sales. You can know sales and be a silver-tongued, perfect presenter. But I've had salespeople be number one, absolutely crush it. The following month or the month after, they can't figure out how to close anyone. And it's locked. The problem needs to be unlocked. It needs to be discovered and figured out. And it's one of those things, if you don't know, you don't know. But that's why I love the 4 individual areas of expertise that are all very important in being able to be successful as a small business, as a solo entrepreneur. You need them all, because you could have 3 of them and excel. But if you don't have that one piece, if you need that piece, you need to go in and say, help me unlock this. Manny Ramirez, who's one of the best, sort of the Babe Ruth of our generation, just banged home runs all over the place, and Big Papi. And there was one season where he just couldn't hit the ball. It wasn't his ability. He's proven that he can hit the ball out of the park. There was something in his head that got to him that blocked his performance, and he needed to get out of it. And sometimes the more you try by yourself, you just keep digging yourself deeper and deeper into this problem of trying to oversolve it. So you need some help doing it. It's the same with sales, in particular, the sales that are intangible, right? It's that service. It's all you. It's all of what you're presenting. When selling advertising, somebody used to say, what size ad and how much is it? And how much is the ad? And I said, listen, first of all, we're not selling ads. We're selling access to millionaires. It's the people that we're able to reach, that you're going to be getting in front of, that you're really buying, not the physical ad. Think about it. You don't even own the ad. The ad's in a magazine. So what we're doing is we're selling the access to the people with the money and the attitude that can afford the product that you have to sell. And so, that is, sure, you can look at an ad, somebody else's ad, but you're buying something before you actually see your own ad. And so it's really about, that understanding without the ability to show somebody. You could sell a car, hop in the car, take it for a drive. And some cases you don't have to be very good. They just fall in love with it and want to hand you the money. I can't live without it. And so, I had a mentor tell me once, people buy for 1 or 2 reasons. It's so cheap that I need to buy it, even if I don't necessarily want it. And that's certainly not what we encourage, because we'll never be so cheap. But some people buy that way, and other people buy because they can't live without it. I need this. And so sometimes people don't need or don't know that they need a level of service and professionalism that'll help them. They think that what they have in terms of their own, mind toolkit, and yes, I've been in sales for a long time, I know how to get leads. Sometimes they don't know. That's the biggest challenge, especially when you know what you can do for them. What could you gain if you understood the value we can bring to you? And how many times are people say, I can't believe I didn't do this years ago?
So
Right?
true. So true.
You know, and in addition, you know, one of the things is that, which we're talking about with Manny, you know what every professional athlete has is a coach, a guide, and a mentor to help them through
Exactly.
tough spots as well as to enhance their performance. Business people, all the people who know the value of coaching and mentoring and guidance for a variety of reasons is truly important. What to me is very sad and frustrating out there in the world is I call them empty suits. They're people who either they don't know any better, but they've got a position of a platform where they can talk and present stuff, or they're intentionally lying. You know, they're deceiving and they're mystifying. So many times people say, well, if you want to have this, you have to do this, and then you have to do it really hard and commit and sweat and struggle and kind of flagellate yourself in order to take all the risks and work all the long hours. And it's not that you don't work, but if you really love what you're doing, you never work a day in your life. But they have you go, if you want the car, the yacht, the jet, the trophy spouse, or whatever it might be, then work really hard, do this, struggle, all these kinds of sacrifice, give up your leisure, your relationships, your time, take massive action so that you can be somebody in order to do the right things to have what you want. And the point is it actually is the opposite. You do have to change yourself, become the kind of person for who creating a good lifestyle is easy, to know how to take the right actions in order to have what you want. But so many people approach it the other way around, saying, do this, do this, do this, do this, and then you'll have this, have this, have this, have this, and then you'll be important. And it's better if you start as someone who is important, who knows what they're doing, who's offering value, and has confidence in themselves because what they're doing is working. Then they take the right actions. And you know what the brain does and what evolution does? It uses the least amount of energy ever necessary in order to get the most significant result that it can get. It doesn't take massive action except in very rare circumstances. So to tell people you have to take massive action is completely counterintuitive to how the brain works, to how life works, and to what survival is all about. So what we want to do is we want to set the record straight, you know, and I'm surrounded by incredible people who can help you to do that. There's Rick and Danny over here, and Ben. So, Danny, Rick and I are talking up a storm here.
No, this is, you know, every time I'm in the room with you guys, I learn some stuff, and I always try to over deliver and do the thing, you know, from the technical point, from my humble point. But nobody should come to a meeting believing that they know everything, right? So it's great to listen, and it's great to take the insight. And I know we've got a few comments and questions possibly in the chat right now. To just get that one question answered by 4 different perspectives is potentially something that's going to save you the years. It's going to hold you back from, you know, 10 to midnight or whatever it is when the shop's closing and you're like, man, like you said, I wish I would have done this sooner. So if you've got a question that you want to ask, we do have a little while left. We are, of course, working together, and we are launching a program. Now we've got the site, we've got the package, we've got the plan, we know what we're doing, and we are going to be working with people who are ready for this, right? This is the important thing, is they've got to be ready for it. You know, if you've not got a business yet right now, we've got some stuff that we're going to be doing at a lower value that you can learn from, and you can get into there, and there's some videos and things like that. But there's an opportunity to actually ask a question in a group environment on a call where you come on, you have your question prepared, and you know the significance of that question. That's important. So we've got a couple of levels that we're looking at doing in this program that we're working on. There's a few details that we still need to agree. And I don't want to like say, hey, we're launching this thing today. I don't want to launch anything today, but I want to give the folks in the chat an opportunity, if it's all right with you guys, and I know with Ben as well, that if we allowed early access by appointment to those who thought they were ready. Clearly, this is not a 97 or a 997 thing. You've got great minds who are able to make that one change, that one tweak. If we extended that opportunity beyond being able to ask a quick question now in the chat and we can give some insight, is that something that anyone in the comments right now, anyone in the chat right now would like more information around? It's not something we're not going to give you a link. We're not going to give you a download. We just open it up. You can send me an inbox. You can send us an email, Rex, if you want to put your email in the chat or whatever. You can contact us. We can have a very quick conversation to make sure that this would be a good fit. This program's coming. It's going to happen. There's an entry point for people who just get some generic information, get some basic stuff, help you on your way. But there is this opportunity for a small number. We're not going to try and flood the market and say, hey, 1,000 people come and join this thing. We want a select small group of people who would benefit from 30 years of insight from Rick, 30 years of insight or more from Rex, 30 years, I don't even know how many years insight from Ben-Gay III, who was mentored by Napoleon Hill, who's worked with all these people, authors, people who've done this as a career successfully. It's not for everybody, right? We do have a thing. It's coming out. It's going to be a funnel. You can click on it. You can watch the videos. You can go through, and maybe you will be ready down the line. But if there's anyone in the chat right now who likes what you're hearing, who thinks actually Rick could hold the key, Rex could hold the key, Ben Gay could hold the key, Danny could hold the key, I think just extending that opportunity. It's not a hard sell. We know how good it is, right? We don't need to come on here and have a big list of things of here's what you're going to get and all the rest of it. There's an opportunity to reach out, because it's not about watching a bunch of videos. It's not about downloading a bunch of PDFs. It's about certainty, right? It's about transformation. It's about that one change. That's how I see this. And I know we've discussed this many, many times, but if there's folks who would be like, I'm interested to know more, Rex is going to put his email in there, info@rexsikes.com, or you can inbox me personally and just say, tell me more. We can get on a call with you. We can explain what this might look like, but it's not a Black Friday super duper deal. We're not going to go on there and go, oh, there's all these things that you're going to get. There's an opportunity on the table to be one of the first through the door if you believe that this is something that you would benefit from. But there's also a thing that I want to throw back to you, gents, is there might be some people who are sat there thinking, I need this, but I'm afraid to ask.
Yeah.
And that's where I want to open this back up to you, because I don't want to say, hey, this is an amount, this is a number, this is what it's going to look like. I just want to say there's an opportunity. And I want you gents to fill in the blanks for those people who might need it right now, who know there's an investment, you know how this is going to work. You're dealing with great minds, that one thing in your business that can make all the difference. But I know there's people who are watching this now going, is it for me? What would it look like? What could we say to folks to encourage them to take that leap of faith? Rex Sikes.
Oh, well, I would say, how much do you want it? If you don't ask, you don't get. The answer will always be no if you don't ask. If you don't knock, people can't hear you. We're here to add value to a select few of people who'd like to deep dive into making things better for themselves and for their families, through what they offer the world. And that's whether you're offering an online program or you're selling a car or a piece of real estate. So we're interested in working with people, and we also will want to qualify the people, because as Danny was saying, we're not putting this out for thousands of people to just show up and we're really interested in those people who really, really want to have a superior practice in their business that leads to superior results. And we're dedicated and committed to making that happen. And yes, as Danny was saying, there's other entry points, but Danny, you've talked to other people as you've been traveling about this, and got a lot of interest from people of high net worth who went, wow, yeah, absolutely.
100%. And, bring Rick in a second. There is a couple of questions we are going to address before we wrap this up as well. I know there's a few burning questions in the chat, but I was speaking to a guy over dinner, and he's like, as soon as this is ready, email me. There's a select group of people that are going to receive an email, but bringing you guys together on this show, sharing some insights, talking a little bit about just that one twist, that one change, not leaving it forever, making the change now, learning from people who've done this thing, not just once, who've done this and done this and done this and learned and been willing to learn. Is that the thing that you've been waiting for? Is that worth an email? Rick?
Yeah, Danny, what just kind of struck me is recently I was asked to do some consulting work on AI sales. And it was a big company interested in going through the journey, finding out, does it really work? Can it help me with, are the claims true? Can I rely on a voice AI person to handle calls, to make outbound calls, to make presentations? Does it all work? And so I was approached and said, would you consult with this particular person? Because I've had 5 or 6 different programs that I've invested in. And when I say invested in, I'm talking upwards of $50,000 in different programs. Some worked, some didn't work. And when I moved on from something that didn't work, what do you think my process was like to investigate the next program? All of the things that I've learned that didn't work, you bet I was going to ask, does it do this? And what happens with this? And I want to make sure that this problem doesn't happen. So this is a period of 2 years and $50,000 in my own experience with my salespeople. I'm not just testing this to see if I like it so I can write a book about it. I'm trying to make sure it works for my sales team. And so, okay, well, what are your fees? And I said, well, this is something I've never done before. You're asking me to help somebody who's interested in engaging in an AI program, pitfalls, what to avoid, what to look for, how to do it. There's so many different intricate pieces of that, but I can help them. Well, he wants to speak with you for an hour. And I said, well, if I spend $50,000 over 2 years with hundreds of hours, do you think it's worth $1,000 for that 1 hour to ask me any question about AI before he makes a decision? He said, well, I'm pretty darn sure he'll be willing to do that. And so off it came. 3 different people have asked me about that. In each case, everyone said, thank you so much. This is so helpful. People have to understand whatever that cost might be, multiply it by the knowledge gain, right? How quickly you'll move forward because of what you invest in. I 100% believe in that in everything that I do. In fact, somebody, I'm not going to mention his name, claims to be America's greatest coach. And so I was on a number of Zoom calls with him and got to know him. He has 3 coaches. The coach has coaches, right? Because you want to constantly learn and feed. It doesn't shut off. You don't just absorb everything and then repeat it. Because number one, you can't know everything. And number 2, if you have a thirst for knowledge, right? That's your business. It's delivering knowledge. You have to keep the faucet on, right? And you have to constantly learn and adjust along the way. So coaches have coaches so that they can help you when you get delivered the latest and greatest information. It comes from some of the greatest minds. That's why I'm excited about the group that I'm involved in. We'll learn from each other. We already have, never mind anyone that comes and says, here's my situation. How do I move forward? How do I grow? How do I do better? And just a little bit of tweaking can have huge results. And I'm a boater. I'm a bad fisherman, but I'm a boater. And before GPS and all this technology, you would get compass directions, 40 degrees north. Now, if you're on a short journey and you're close to 40 degrees, 42, 39, 38, 45, oh, you'll see it. You'll get there. But if you're going from where I live down to the Cape, go to the islands or go to Nantucket, if you're off by 1 degree, you'll be miles and miles away from the island. You won't even be able to see it. So if we can help you with that 1 degree of being better, how much time and more money what would that effect be like? And that's really what people have to understand. Something I figured out, and it's just so valuable, It's how many days, weeks, and months or years do you go by without that 1% change, right? Without that 1% improvement, how much have you lost that you could have gained? Because growing business and the missed opportunities and doing it not, incrementally better than you did before is a huge difference in your life. And again, I know all of us are, but I'm a huge believer in seeking out somebody that's better than you are at doing what you want to get done. Because if you find somebody better than you are, then you are smarter by doing so, because you're finding somebody that's better than you. And sometimes egos get in the way, especially in the business that I'm in. High net worth people that are very successful, they have a lot of ego. So they're not easily impressed. But when they see the value and they see that you can help them in certain areas, they welcome it. And they'll pay dearly for it because of the way it improves their business. So 1% of somebody that makes 50,000, 1% of somebody that has a $250 million business, huge difference, right? But your own mind and your own, investment and improvement is, you can't put a price on that.
So what is so beautiful, and I don't know if people really understand what Rick has just said. So I'm going to say it my way, and that is, it's not just the people you close. It's how do you get to those people who have that kind of worth, that 1% of $250 million would make all the difference for you in your life. And that's what Rick can help show you, how to not only meet them where they are, but what you need to do to impress upon them that you are a person worth listening to. Because if you do it your way, we can promise you it probably isn't going to be as effective as if you take the advice from someone like Rick, who spent, he says 35 years. That's what he did then. He's continued since. So you're really older than you claim to be, right? But I have well over 50 years of training, and teaching and sharing this stuff. I know that you do, Rick. Danny does, and Ben is older than I am. So Ben has even like 60 years or more. So, we're not going to talk about the combined years, because that's not so important. But what is important is knowing where the big fish are, so that you have the potential of catching them. And they're all around you, but they may not be obvious. They're like the sea bass with Rick. He can't catch one. Rick can show you how to catch a big whale that will make a difference for you in your life. I think that is just in and of itself amazing.
I think as we approach the top of the hour, and I've got a hard stop. We've got ClickFunnels and all sorts of crazy stuff I've got to go and do, and there's more things going to be happening. We've got a program. There's a lower entry point, which we can tell you about. So feel free to drop an email, info@rexsikes.com. It's on the page.
Or inbox Danny.
Yeah, or you can inbox me, whatever, and just say, hey, I've watched the show with Rick, with Rex. We know about this thing. The thing is, it's not about the money for us. It's about the people and the transformation. You would invest knowing that you've got the backing of expertise that you could not normally access. And this is not something that we plan on running for the next 20 years. This is something that's an opportunity, as I said at the beginning, that might not be around for too long. When it comes to the mentoring, when it comes to be able to come on a call, you bring your question, we go around the room, you ask your question, and you get 4 pieces of information, advice, insight there and then on the call. You take that and you go. You implement. You don't sit on it. You don't think about it. You just do it. And that is how I was in a mastermind the other week with Russell Brunson, and the guy was going on about something. He was and Russell just stopped him and said, "Launch it now." And that was the advice. Launch it now. Let's do it now. And the guy was taken back, and he was like, "Now?" He's like, "I believe if we're going to take action, we're taking action now. So don't email us in 2 weeks. Don't think about it. If you think or believe in your heart that you need that extra 1%, if you need to know where the big bass is swimming, if you need that adjustment to your fishing setup so you can go out there and catch more while it matters before it gets to midnight, send the email. We'll also provide information of the the videos and the guidance and the step-by-step stuff if you're not in that position to make, the bigger investment. But if you know that this conversation that you could have on a monthly basis with 4 amazing mentors can just do the thing that you need, send the email. If you think that we've got information that you need, send the email. If you want more information, send the email. But don't message in a year's time and say, oh, I'm thinking about it. This is the time to take action. This is not a Black Friday offer, but it's probably one of the best offers you'll ever see. We're doing this for you. Nobody else has seen it yet, but as soon as we send that initial email out, that place could be closed. It could be taken. We're not here to serve the 5,000. We're here to serve the select few. And we want to give an opportunity to the people viewing this today. And I'm so grateful that Rick, Rex, Ben, in his absence, have come together, to work in this presence. It's truly humbling. I know what we've got. I know how good it is. And as you see this start to roll out, don't be the person looking through the window next year at this time thinking, I wish I would have sent the email. I don't know if that resonates with you guys. Rex is going to put the email in the chat one more time.
It absolutely does. I had purchased a house. I was in the house. Time flies. 5 years, and I've wanted some privacy. I wanted to get some trees up, so I brought a landscaper over and said, what can you recommend? And I don't want those little 2-foot things that you find at Home Depot. I need some privacy. I can't wait that long. And he said, well, Rick, the best time to plant the trees?
Indeed.
When you moved in. Because that would have been 5 years of growth for the trees. He said, but nothing you can do about that. The next best time to plant the trees? Today. And that made me think of what you were talking about. Don't think about it. Don't imagine what you could do, what else you might do. Action creates improvement. Only action. And with all of the salespeople that I've worked with internally, and then I'm excited to be able to bring this outside to other people, salespeople, having them understand all of the things that I've learned and just share it with them. The people that take immediate action and commit to it and say, I will absolutely listen to every word because I want to learn what you know. I want to do what you do. One of the salespeople I hired said, can I drive you to work? And I said, well, it might be my own personal chauffeur. That's not necessary. He said, no, it's an hour. If I pick you up, by the time I pick you up and bring you to work, that's an hour. I'll drop you off at home. I said, well, sometimes I work late. I don't leave at 5 o'clock. I don't care. He said, that's 2 hours a day. And I'm going to ask you questions. I'm going to learn from you for 2 hours a day. Now, this guy worked at a sub shop. He made the best pizzas and could chop up that steak on the grill like nobody you know. I said, are you really thinking about this being possible? And I checked with a few people. I said, this guy, when he wants something, he gets it. He wanted a motorcycle. He didn't. He saved money by not eating a meal a day, by not going out, by not dating. This guy would do anything before he got the motor. That's who you get dealing with. I said, I like his mind. I like that in somebody will do anything to learn. So fast forward now, after that, every single day in a car for months and months and months, he is a multiple property owner, multi-millionaire who's an expert in luxury sales, to the point where he is the #1 watch person who travels worldwide and visits with presidents and CEOs of company, the #1 most knowledgeable watch guy in terms of marketing of anyone on the planet. And he worked at a sub shop. But the difference is he was absolutely committed. I will pick you up and drive you to work because I see the value in doing that. So you can be way beyond the point of being, working at a sub shop. But he made his decision. He's quitting. I'm coming with you, and I'm going to drive you to work because I want to know what you know. And it transferred into an amazing career. Like there's nobody else who's done what he's done, all because he said, I'm going to do it. I've made up my mind. There's no talking me out of it. In other words, he already said, I already quit. I need to be in your car to start this thing. That's the difference maker.
And I'm going to have to wrap this up, you guys, as well. Literally, hard stop at the top. There's an opportunity on the table. Rex Sikes, 30 seconds, and we're gone.
Well, now, just so you know, you're not only getting the opportunity to ask a question, but to continue to ask questions. We're inviting you into Rick's car, essentially. That is what this is, what we're doing. It sounds weird, but the four of us are doing, where you can have this kind of time, this kind of questioning process, so that we can help you as Rick helped that gentleman. So that's all I have to say. Go ahead.
Send the email. Send the email.
Front seat, not the back seat, the front seat.
Front seat. Rex Sikes, Rick Sedler, it's been a pleasure. Program launches soon. I'm off to the One Funnel Away Q&A for 2 hours. Back in the ClickFunnels group. There's other live stuff playing on my wall. You gents, I will catch up with you very soon. Everyone in the chat, appreciate you. Thank you, everybody.
You too, Denny.
Send the email. We're gone. Thank you.